The factory was quiet. Too quiet. Most of the crew had left hours ago, and Miguel and I were the only ones still on shift, finishing the last of machines. The fluorescent lights hummed overhead, and the faint scent of oil and metal filled the air. I had noticed Miguel before, of course. He was 28 tall, with dark black hair that always seemed a little tousled, and brown eyes that could pierce right through you. But tonight, something about him felt different. As I wiped down a conveyor belt, I felt his presence behind me. Miguel leaned against the machine, arms crossed, his gaze fixed on mine. "You sure you don't need a break?" he asked, voice low and warm, the kind that made my chest tighten. Every time he looked at me like that, my thoughts scrambled. I wasn't ready for this, but I couldn't ignore the way my heart raced when he was near. I laughed nervously, trying to hide it. "I'm good, just finishing up here." He stepped closer, casually brushing his arm against mine. It wasn't a big touch, but enough to send an electric jolt through me. My mind went blank, my focus on the machinery faltering. "I don't think I've ever seen you this focused," Miguel said, leaning a little closer, his warm breath brushing my ear. "It's distracting." My heart skipped. I couldn't decide if it was the way he said it or the closeness, but suddenly the factory didn't feel like just a workplace. It felt private, intimate, ours. The hum of the machines faded as the tension between us grew. I realized that Miguel wasn't just a coworker anymore. He was someone I wanted to feel closer to in ways I hadn't expected. We finished the last machine in silence, but the quiet was heavy with unspoken words. Miguel didn't move away. Instead, he lingered, hands in pockets, eyes fixed on me with something I couldn't name. "You're awfully quiet tonight," he said softly. "Is something on your mind?" I hesitated. I didn't want to say too much, but the truth was escaping me anyway. "Maybe it's you," I admitted, voice low. Miguel blinked, then smiled, a slow, knowing smile. Is that a good thing or a bad thing? His smile made my knees weak. The way he looked at me, the warmth in his voice, it was as if he could see everything I was feeling, everything I was afraid to say out loud. After our shift, we walked toward the exit, the night air cool against our faces. We were close, closer than usual, shoulders almost touching. Miguel's hand brushed mine. I didn't pull away. Instead, I let the contact linger, letting the warmth spread through me. "You know," he said, voice low, "it's nice being here with just you." I turned to him, heart pounding, words caught in my throat. "Yeah, me too." The factory lights behind us cast long shadows, but none of that mattered. We were alone, suspended in a quiet, electric moment. I felt something I hadn't before, bold, thrilling, terrifying, and I realized I didn't want it to end. One brush of his hand, one lingering look, and I knew everything had changed. Miguel wasn't just a coworker. He was the man I wanted, and I couldn't ignore it any longer. By the time we reached the parking lot, our proximity was undeniable. Miguel stopped, turning to face me, his expression softer now, more vulnerable. "I wanted to tell you something for a while," he murmured, stepping closer. My breath caught. "What?" I whispered. "I like you," he admitted, a faint blush coloring his cheeks. "I wanted to be closer to you, like this." The world narrowed to just us, the cool night air and the pounding of my heart. Miguel, my co-worker, my distraction, my desire, was finally confessing, and I couldn't stop myself from leaning in. The night air in the parking lot was sharp against my skin, but it didn't matter. Miguel was close, too close to ignore. His brown eyes met mine, warm yet intense, and I felt my chest tighten. The hum of the empty factory behind us seemed distant, irrelevant. For the first time, the lines between coworker and something more had blurred completely. Are you serious?" I asked, barely able to breathe. Miguel's lips curved into a small, teasing smile. "Completely," he admitted. "I wanted this for a while, but I didn't know if he felt the same." Just hearing him say those words made my heart race. I realized then that every glance, every brush of hands during our shift wasn't just coincidence. Miguel had been pulling me in from the start, and I wanted him just as much. Before I could think twice, I stepped closer. The space between us vanished, and his hands found mine, fingers intertwining effortlessly. The warmth of his touch, the slight tremor in his grip, sent shivers down my spine. I wanted this too, I whispered, voice trembling but honest. Miguel leaned in, closing the last of the distance. Our lips met, soft, hesitant at first, then bold, urgent, a release of all the tension that had built over weeks. The night, the empty factory, the hum of machines, all faded into nothing but this moment. Every brush of his lips, every hold of his hands made it clear. Miguel wasn't just after breaking the kiss. We stayed close, foreheads touching, breaths mingling. The night felt suspended, quiet, and hours. "I've been nervous," Miguel admitted softly, his eyes searching mine. I didn't know if I should make a move. I smiled, running my fingers through his dark hair. "I'm glad you did. I wanted this too more than I realized." The tension that had lingered for weeks melted away. Our stolen touches, lingering glances, and subtle flirtations had all led to this, the bold, undeniable start of something new, something passionate. Over the next few nights, our connection deepened. We found excuses to be alone together at work, checking machines, wiping down equipment, pretending to adjust settings. Each brush of hands, each close glance, was a reminder of the night we finally crossed the line. Miguel's teasing smile, the way he leaned closer under the hum of fluorescent lights, made my pulse race every time. One evening, as we left the factory together, rain had begun to fall lightly. Miguel grabbed my hand, tugging me close under his jacket, and whispered, "I don't want to let go." In that moment, with rain dripping off our shoulders and our fingers entwined, it wasn't just a crush or a fleeting attraction. Miguel had become mine completely, and I knew I'd never stop wanting him. Weeks later, our relationship became known to each other fully, bold, intimate, and passionate. We still worked the same shifts, still shared jokes and casual touches, but now every glance, every hand on his shoulder carried weight, promise, and affection. Miguel and I had started as coworkers, sharing late-night shifts and quiet glances. But what had begun as casual attraction had transformed into something fierce, emotional, and unforgettable. I couldn't imagine a life without him, my bold, teasing, loving Miguel, the man who had crossed the line from colleague to the love of my life. From overtime and empty machines to trembling confessions and stolen kisses, Miguel had become more than I ever expected. He was my co-worker, my distraction, my desire, and ultimately, the man I couldn't stop loving.